Heyo, what's going on, everybody? It is episode number 212 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa. It's my favorite coffee. The best part about it is what you do is you order the coffee, and they roast it specifically for you and then ship it to your house. I like coffee, and I like fresh coffee, and this is about the freshest coffee you can get. Go to couchtowncoffee.com. Find a coffee you like, make an order. When you do, let them know Audible Farm sent you, and they'll give you 20% off, all while freshly roasting beans specifically for you. That's pretty sweet. Couchtowncoffee.com. Thanks, Couchtown. This episode is also brought to you by the patrons on Patreon. Without them, the podcast just could not keep going. So I got to say thank you to every single one of you guys supporting monthly, listening and viewing the podcast over on Patreon. It makes my day. It makes my day knowing that there's people over there watching. It makes me smile. So thank you all very much for supporting. I got to give a shout out to Nate and Eric and Vince and Ronley and Andy and Abby and Matt and Harold and Justin and Travis. The McAllister Hours podcast is supporting us. Shout out to them, another local Iowa podcast. And American Made Music. American Made is also supporting us. Hats off to them. They've been on the podcast recently. Iowa band supporting an Iowa podcast. That is pretty sweet. So make sure you check them out. Thank you to all the Patreon members. You want to check that out. It's $1 a month. You can watch video versions of the podcast. They are available over on the Patreon, audiblefarm.com/Patreon. Thanks once again to all the patrons over there on Patreon. Y'all make this possible. This week, I'm sitting down with Ronley King. I love sitting down talking with Ronley King. I don't care if it's at a podcast. I don't care if it's in passing at a show. I don't care if it's 20-second conversation before he's going up to tear it up on guitar. I like the guy. He's a fun guy. He's always seems to be in good spirits about pretty much everything, and that is one of the most enjoyable traits about him if we completely ignore the fact that he's an amazing guitar player. We sit down and talk about all sorts of stuff in this episode. We talk about what's changed since the last episode. We recap a couple things from the last episode, but we get into talking about the Ronley King Blues Band, how it's changed since the last episode, and what he's done with the band, competing in the Central Iowa Blues Society Iowa Blues Challenge for 2022. He competed in that in September. That is an event where the winner gets to go to Memphis. And did he win? You'll have to tune in to find out. So keep tuned in for that one. We talk about that as well as upcoming shows for the Ronley King Blues Band. Got some local shows coming up and got some shows throughout north central Iowa and down in the Des Moines area coming up. So we're going to have to check those out as well. We also talk about how the band members have changed. We talk about Cory Waller and the Wicked Things also staying very, very busy this last year. So we get a little update from Ronley on that as well. Hats off to Ronley. Very, very, very busy person. And he's out there just pulling it off. He's having a blast doing it too. And that's probably the most fun. It's what it's about. It's about having fun doing this. And if that wasn't what it was about, I don't know what it would be about. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I'm sitting down talking with one of my favorite people in the north central Iowa music scene. I'm sitting down talking with Ronley King from the Ronley King Blues Band and Cory Waller and the Wicked Things.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
I am sitting down today talking with Ronley King, the man. Ronley, a good way to start that one out. Ronley, I just got to say, this is great to have you on here. I remember when you first came on the podcast, like basically when I first started the podcast. I mean, you were probably one of the first within the first year. And yep. I kind of knew you, kind of didn't. I'd seen you at some jam nights. I'd played a little with you. I was still pretty fresh. So like basically everyone was good to me, you know, and I was just like, holy cow, you know, everyone's good. And then you came over to do the podcast and you were like, well, we could jam a little bit. So I hooked up some guitars and stuff and I watched you shred a little bit and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to play with this guy. He's too good. And
oh goodness.
Which is fun because it leads us up to this. I feel like this is something as weird as it sounds. I didn't talk about you with this with you before the podcast, but I feel like as good as you were then, you're like that much better even now. And I think that's like a testament to your practicing and like your devotion to playing the guitar
Oh man.
that not everyone has. And I know you're probably gonna be like, I barely practice as much as I should, but you know,
Well, thank you, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
absolutely.
Like, it's one of those things like, well, like you say, I don't practice near as much as I should, but I will say that like, I try to make a point of it just because like, I feel like with guitar, it's an expression thing, right? And it's kind of like an extension of yourself. And, a lot of the people that I listen to, whether it be someone around here or, some of my bigger influences, I listen to what they do and they're able to play. And a lot of them, they all say it's like, it's never about, getting to a certain point. It's just all about getting to the point where you can express what you hear in your head. And I always feel like I feel like I have a lot of room yet to get to what I hear in my head. I still have, I do appreciate your comments about getting better. You try to work at things and you just hope that it pays off eventually. So,
Yeah. I mean, that leads us like nicely into, I pretty much the topic that I wanted to tackle with you big time today was, having some of that hard work actually pay off. You've recently been playing a lot of shows, like one-off shows with musicians, and it's the people that I see online that I may or may not be friends with, but I'm like, I know this person's in the state and they're playing music and they're good, and Ronley's out there playing guitar with them for a one-off show. How did you get involved with some of that? Was it you went to some jam nights, or they saw you playing online, or they heard you with Cory Waller or with Jay Clyde back in the day, or?
Well, I guess I'm not sure specifically who you're referring to, but like for instance, earlier this year, I had an absolute ball with Tyler Richton and the High Bank Boys. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're out from Eastern Iowa. Just killer musicians. Then they do a lot of the, what do you want to say? And I don't want to pigeonhole them, but they do a lot of like the 90s country. They got an absolute amazing fiddle player. And I just was lucky enough to get asked to come do just a few shows, like not any commitment or anything, just for the fun of it. And so I got to go do a few shows with them this last winter and into the spring. And then, apologize if you hear my boys crying up. Mom's still trying to get them to bed right now, and they're being unruly. So, apologize if you hear any kids crying in the background. But
It's not me, I swear.
And that actually kind of led to several other gigs because a good friend of mine down in Des Moines right now, Brian Schweiger, who plays guitar, we had talked quite a bit online, commenting on each other's posts throughout the years, but we never actually got to meet. Well, he actually came out to one of the Tyler Richton and the High Bank Boys shows.
Nice.
He got up and jammed with us and stuff. So finally got to introduce myself to him. And so then kind of segued to some of the other bands that I've kind of filled in with a little bit. He plays in a variety of, he's one of the most in-demand guys in Des Moines right now as far as guitar goes. Plays with, I can't even name off all the bands. So I've gotten a couple calls for when he's either been double booked or they just, they needed to fill in for the night or something like that. So I've been lucky enough to kind of snag a couple of those shows when he's been busy or had to go play a different show. So I'm very, very thankful for that relationship. So
I'm assuming that'd be like when you're playing with Buck Miller then?
Yep. Tom Buckmiller.
Yeah.
And that's both of those guys. They've becoming fast, really good friends of mine, which they're Tom Buckmiller and Brian Schweiger are part of the Buckmiller Schweiger band. They're one of the best blues bands in the area. Just very thankful for, it's crazy, you play music and it's just, the world just continues to get smaller and smaller. You might have you hear about, you've either seen people play, or you've been friends with them on Facebook, or so on and so forth. And then next thing you know, you're getting to play music with them. And, and it's just like, I feel like if you're if you're kind of just in the scene, or you're putting your name out there, putting yourself out there, you end up getting to play with people, and it's a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I mean, it's crazy as it sounded. We might have talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, with you getting to play with like the Buckmiller Swagger Band, or like with Tom Buckmiller a little bit at least. And it's one of those things. I'm pretty sure we talked about this on the last podcast, but he did reach out to me like a while back. I need to like reach back out to him to get him on the podcast. It was back.
Yeah.
It was back when I was fielding just like tons of messages, and his was like non-descriptive. It was just like a link to an EPK was all I got from him, and that was it.
Yep.
I was like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, that's the professional way to do it. My bad. Like I messed up on that one. But
well, him and Brian both. Those are people I would highly suggest getting to meet at some point, because I mean, once again, Brian is just an amazing guitar player, amazing musician. Tom Buckmiller as well, and he is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to blues. I believe he's even wrote a book based around some of the blues happenings in the Des Moines area and kind of the history of that. So he's just and also one of the most animated and fun band leaders I've ever got to work with. I'll just add that on there too. So just an absolute joy knowing those guys.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Did I also see you got to play some shows with Bob Pace? Maybe is that correct?
Oh yeah. So Bob. That's another guy. I'm just eternally thankful, because he's done a lot for me, just kind of getting my name out in that Des Moines crowd area. We may have mentioned that the last time around, but what kind of started the whole blues thing was I got to fill in on guitar for Amanda Fish from Kansas City. And, I don't know if she's still in Kansas City right now or not, but don't quote me on that. At any rate, she played a few shows through Iowa and needed some guitar players. So I did one night. I did a Friday night with her over in Sioux City, and then Bob Pace actually played with her the next night on Saturday. And it was kind of funny, because I later he plays every Friday night down at the Gas Lamp in Des Moines.
Yeah.
So I ended up going and watching my wife and I went down and watched one of his shows at the Gas Lamp, and I ended up introducing myself to him, and we kind of, bonded over the fact of filling in for the same person. And then he's just been so good to me. He's invited, now he's doing every Monday night at the Greenwood Lounge. He hosts his own, they call it the Groove Fest, but so on any given Monday, he'll have like me, a guitar player, come down, sit in with his band, and we'll do tunes together, or he'll get like a singer-songwriter come in and play with them. And, but I've been very fortunate that he's invited me several times now to come down there and play. He's just he's a legendary figure in the Des Moines area and Iowa for that matter, as far as blues goes. And so I'm just that's another relationship that I've been very, very happy to make. So,
yeah, I can't remember. I know I've mentioned it on the podcast at least once, and it was probably actually on the last episode I did with you when you had played a show with Bob. And it was one of those deals where I remember playing shows at the Gas Lamp with Three Finger Betty, and we'd be playing the late show on a Friday, and Bob's show would like spill over by like, just like 5 minutes. And that's not much. It's a big deal. 5 minutes, our show doesn't start for 55 minutes. It's not like he's really hurting anybody, but it was one of those deals like I was just like, who's this guy? And why is he doing this? And then you eventually, like a couple weeks later, you start to look around online. You're like, oh, this guy's a big deal. And then you start to find, like, I've seen videos of him. He'll walk out in crowds and like play with the guitar, like in the crowd. I saw a video of him, if I'm not mistaken, like playing electric guitar and then throwing it on his lap and playing on the top of it like a lap steel. And then I think I've seen him play it upside down and left-handed, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like that's the kind of showmanship and talent that it's just like, how much time is that guy spending on the guitar?
Exactly. And I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. He's a wealth of experience. I mean, he's done and seen it all, And anytime I get to learn from an individual like that, I treasure it, because, you can't. I've been playing guitar for real for probably 12, 13 years or something. He's been doing it his whole life. So it's like, you can't replace the years,
Yeah.
You might think you're an amazing player, an amazing musician, but you can't replace the years of experience and knowledge. And it's just, I look up to folks like that so much. That they're fun. It's fun to talk to, and it's fun to just gather any tidbits of information you can from them.
Yeah. So. It's just wild. I think about that a lot, and maybe that's just like getting older. I think about that, but like, the whole like youth is wasted on the young and blah blah, all that stuff, like the cliches, but they're cliches for a reason, and it's one of those things. Like you said, I look up to some of those older guys. When I first started playing guitar, I was just like, these older guys can't play guitar, and then they go up there and they start shredding. You're like, oh, they've been playing for 40 years, like. Duh, like it makes sense now. Like I've been playing for 2, or whatever it was at the time, and they've been playing for 40. Like, duh. So
exactly,
you start to realize that's just how it works. It kind of makes me wish I would have taken it a little more serious, a little more younger. But we're all on the path we're on to be where we're at for a reason. Oh, hey, cool.
There we go. Or I tell you what, man, I'll just say it, and we can leave this one in the podcast. But if you hear the kids crying in the background, I apologize, folks. But this is just how it is,
Yep.
We like Peter said to me earlier, it's like when we find time to do things, this is what you end up with some days. So
yeah. I'll say it again. It should be noted, like hats off to parents, especially like parents who have musicians, or like the wives of musicians who are parents, or the husbands or whatever. It's just a special thing. Definitely. It's a special thing all around.
While I'm down here, my wife is up there wrangling two Spitfires that don't want to go to sleep right now. So it's like, but at any rate.
So all this little bit of relationship that you ended up like building with all these Des Moines individuals ended up kind of leading you into competing in the Central Iowa Blues Society's Iowa Blues Challenge for 2022.
Yeah.
So the last time we talked, you had different band members. So before we get into you competing in that, let's kind of talk about how the band transformed a little bit from last year until this year. Because I think like last time you were on, you were like, the band's just kind of a hobby. I'll just play a couple shows here and there.
Yeah. Well, and that's so really that fact right there is what led to having different band members. So right now I've got Caleb Ferry on drums and Etheridge Nets on bass. So they also play with me in Cory Waller and the Wicked Things. And so here's the deal. When you only play, what ended up happening was we did, because I had Owen O'Brien on bass, and I had Andy Shelley on drums, and we even had Gabriel Alves on keys. Yeah. So we did a killer lineup, absolutely amazing lineup, right? We did probably, I want to say like 4 shows together last fall into last winter. And then we had a period of like 5 months or so that we didn't have a show booked. So the thing is with the blues and just a jam band per se in general, we were trying to for those first few shows, we were trying to do a really polished set and try to learn some tunes, and we're still jamming, but like we still have a set of boundaries. Well, the thing is, unless you're playing every weekend, it's so hard to keep that up, right? You lose a lot of the nuance. So what ended up happening was I ended up booking one show over the 4th of July weekend, and it was going to be like the only show for a while. And so I play what ended up working out was it's just like, okay, one, you have to manage. If you're playing with 2 different bands, you have 2 different sets of schedules to manage. In the Wicked Things, we already are all kind of on the same path, right? So we've got our own calendar. We're synced up. We know everybody's lives in and out. And so we also know when each other's is free and And also we play together every weekend. So like for almost 2 years, we play about every weekend throughout the summer and quite a bit through the winter. So like we just know Etheridge and Caleb and I just know each other. Like we know what to expect. We know how to feel each other out, and it would have been the same. It would have been the same story. I just ended up going that route because it was like, hey, if we got to show up and we got to pull 3-hour show, you just out of nowhere, like I just have a better chance of doing it with these guys. And it's just simple to, manage the schedules and time. Andy per se, like he's playing with Scott Kirkhart. So they have their whole schedule of stuff going on. Owen's playing in I don't know how many bands now. So it just kind of worked out that like, all right, we've kind of got our little camp. Let's just we'll keep the blues band and Cory Waller and the Wicked Things all in the same camp. So
nice.
Made it easy.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying with like the familiarity. I mean, as far as like playing along with somebody, a good example of that would be like when Owen and I were playing with Jesse. I mean, I still play with Jesse, but when Owen was playing with Jesse, we'd played a lot of shows, and I actually like I could flip through one of these books here and I'd have a schedule, but like, I don't know, we played 30, 40 shows, in a year or whatever. And so, like you said, that's every weekend pretty much you're playing a show. Plus, Owen and I play together at jam nights and things like that. And we'd gotten so familiar with each other that if one of us wanted to trade the solo to the other one or something, it was not any big deal. It's one of those types of deals. You get used to it. And then Owen ended up joining up with another band. He plays with Tank Anthony now. And so we needed a fill in for bass, so he came back and filled in on a show with Jesse. And it wasn't like riding a bike like you thought it would be. I mean, it all worked out. It was great. He filled in. It was amazing. But it wasn't as like the transitions weren't as smooth to play. I'm going to do a solo. Now you do a solo, or go back and forth. We just the feel wasn't there quite as much as it used to be. And that's just like you said, that's the thing. So once you have that familiarity down with somebody, regardless of whether or not you're playing in like a Texas style country band, like an outlaw kind of a feel kind of thing going on, or you're playing blues, bring them along with you. And
well, and it's especially in like that the blues and blues rock, blues jam, any sort of jam type music, familiarity is everything. Because I know how Caleb reacts on the drums. I know kind of what he's thinking, and if I do this, I know how that's going to trigger him to play, and the same thing for him. He knows me. He knows all my quirks on guitar. He knows when I'm going to screw up, and he knows how I'm going to react if I miss a note, all that type of stuff. So it just worked out great. So especially when you're trying to do things on the fly, oh man, that's key right there. So, I absolutely love Andy and I love Owen and they are killer members. And if we would have just kept playing, honestly, like, we probably would have just stayed on that path, but it's just the way things all worked out. That's just what it ended up as.
Yeah. I mean, aligning schedules is not always an easy thing. And, like I everybody knows I'm in two bands. I play with Jesse, when he needs a second, and I also play with Three Finger Betty. So it's not always easy to get those two to line up, and sometimes there's overlap. And like especially on certain holidays where it's like your New Year's and your Thanksgivings and things like that. Your Thanksgiving Eves, excuse me. But like those are the big shows where you might not have the availability you need, and like that's, with it built into one of your other bands, you already know whether or not your whole band is going to be available. You don't have to send out the text and then wait a week to see if they're going to send you a message back and stuff. You just already know.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's really cool. And I mean, having the bands change lineup, it can be a scary thing because you're almost just restarting from square one, though. But like you said, you have those built-in intuitions where your certain playing styles could trigger the drums to do a certain thing, and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, and now, like you say, starting from square one, the tough part is like, so we prepared for the blues contest where we only played 4 tunes and we had one show before that we played like 8 tunes. Well, like now we're gearing up to do 2-3 hour shows off and on. And so, yes, we were definitely still at square one per se. But no, we're just, that's just going to take work, a little bit of work and a little bit of extra time. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, a little bit of work, a little bit of extra time. It's kind of cool that you guys put it together with just so few shows and so few practices to kind of lead into going to this blues competition. Once again, that was the Central Iowa Blues Society puts on a blues challenge every year, the Iowa Blues Challenge, and this year it was in September. And you competed in that. And what is the gist? I mean, I went online and read about it, but the gist of the challenge, like what's the big deal? Who's the winner and what do they get? And what's the big, what's the prize? I mean, do you get a big sack of cash, or is there just like a whole bunch of like bikini women like leaning on your 94 Silverado outside, or like what's going on?
Well, man, I tell you what, that's some pretty high stakes right there. But,
I don't know. I read it. So, I know what it is.
So the Blues Challenge, and I've known about this for a couple years, and a lot of it has came from following Buck Miller Schweiger Band. They were the winners last year in the solo duo category, and then went down to Memphis and made it to the semifinals. But so therein, that's basically the prize. So you compete, each blues society from each state, or there can be multiple blues societies in a state, but they hold the Blues Challenge, and then they let up to four bands and 4 solo duo acts compete, and then they send whoever wins then gets to go to Memphis in the following winter and compete in the international blues competition. So as far as, and I don't even know as far as what the international, what you actually per se win, but the whole idea of it is, a lot of it is networking. You get the opportunity to go to Memphis and play with all these different individuals from different states and different parts of the country that, that are doing the same thing you are, if not even on higher planes and higher levels. But, and then just the idea, like, I mean, as far as the winner of the Iowa Blues or the international blues competition, they got a lot of industry folks down there and everything like that. So you're just, one, you're getting the opportunity to network. One, you're, second, you're, just getting the opportunity to get in front of people and get your name out there. And then just like with anything, the higher you place, probably the better off you are. But, so at any rate, yeah, I've been following this for a couple of years, and when I set out to do this, when I told myself last couple of years ago that I wanted to play some more blues, like, I knew this was something I kind of wanted to do, and to be honest with you, I did not think that we would probably ever win this one. I figured we might someday, but this year I went into this with the mindset of, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to go through the process. And a lot of it is just like I told you earlier, I've been really thankful for a lot of the relationships that I've been able to make down there. But, a lot of it was just to say, like, okay, this is the Ronley King Blues Band, Ronley King Band. We're here. We'd love to be involved in the blues community. Cause I mean, frankly, I'm a newcomer to a lot of it. I've always loved blues music, blues rock, all that type of stuff. But, for the last 10 years, I've been playing in country cover bands. Mm-hmm. So, and that lies in the name of the band. When I call it the Ronley King Blues Band, the only reason it's called that is just to say, hey, we're playing some blues. We're not just doing honky tonk music here, but, excuse me. But, so that was my mindset going into this. And yeah, we were lucky enough to get first place. I still honestly can't believe it. So,
well, there it is. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I knew you were going down there and I knew you were going to compete, and I'm not trying to be like, hey, but I was like, man, he's going to crush it. can't guarantee he's going to win because, like you said, I was familiar with a couple of the other bands down there, and I was, I looked back in the history. I'm like, I've seen a couple of these bands that they're kind of like a Iowa big deal. It's a stiff competition, and
Yeah.
you ended up winning the whole thing.
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, look at the like. Well, and I want to say this the right way. The A.V. Grouse Band. I mean, my gosh, they're absolutely fantastic. They're finishing up a tour in Florida right now.
Wow.
Like, and I've played with the drummer in the A.V. Grouse Band. He's played for Brad Morgan off and on a few times.
Okay.
And so I've just filling in for Brad every now and then. I've got to play with Brian West is his name, and it's like I told him that day, like, you guys are paving the way for the blues in Iowa right now, because they've been down to the International Blues Competition, I think at least once or twice. And I know like the guitar player, Chris Avey, has played in the blues competition a couple times, but nonetheless, they've had Billboard charting blues albums. And
Oh, wow.
I'm just like, I told Brian is like, you guys are paving the way and you're really giving hope, to someone like me who it's like, okay, country music sells in Iowa. If you're not in a country band, you're not going to get to play shows. Well, here's this blues rock heavy hitting band, and they're absolutely killing it right now. So I just, one, getting to compete with them, share the stage with them. I still think the competition was somewhat rigged, but no, it's just absolutely fantastic. And so I'm very thankful for the opportunity. One, and I'm thankful for the people that put it on. Just creating the Central Iowa Blues Society for creating these opportunities and making this stuff happen. Because here I am getting to go to Memphis, and who knows if I'll ever get to do something like that again. That may be it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity is wild. Just having the opportunity to go down there and compete in the, like a Central Iowa Blues Challenge, and then, like you said, there's a society, not a secret society. It's just like a group of people that love blues music so much that they sit down and they go out, they watch the shows, they know who they enjoy, they bring in some people, they let them compete, and they choose the best one, and they basically, based on council, are just like, you guys get to compete down here on a national level,
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say, the International Blues Challenge, is that what it's called?
Yep.
And then you win that one, you go to the Intergalactic Blues Challenge.
Yep, and then the Interstellar,
all right,
and so on and so forth.
Sweet.
But no, yeah, it's gonna be an experience, man. I've been trying to do all the research and all the gathering all the information I can, and just trying to watch previous performances and trying to figure out what to expect when we get down there. My friend Tom has given me a lot of great advice. Since they were there last year, and I'm going into it with the expectation that we're going to have fun. We're going to put on, our best, put our best foot forward, and just leave it all out there and have a good time. So.
And that's in Memphis in January
24th. It starts, I believe, Wednesday the 25th and goes to Saturday the 28th.
Alrighty. Leading up to that, you do have some shows, and that's something else that we want to make sure we plug on this episode, was the fact that you play the Iowa Blues Challenge, you win the thing, you end up going to Memphis. We're going to come back to the shows. Is it weird to you that you played in a cover band for a country for like literally the last like 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it's been, and the whole thing with the mecca of country is Nashville, and everyone wants to go to Nashville, and it's all about Nashville, and here you are, you jump in on a blues competition, and now you're going to Memphis.
Yep.
Bittersweet, fun. You gonna you gonna squeak on over to Nashville real quick and then come back for a day, or what's going on?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't be, I think Nashville's like 3.5 hours or so away from Memphis. So we'll probably end up going over there for a day or something, especially if we don't make it to the semifinals and we got a couple extra days to just hang around and have fun in Memphis. We may venture out, but, yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, as far as so I've been to Nashville a couple times and you go down there and you do the touristy thing, and there is a lot of killer music in Nashville. Don't get me wrong. On any given night, you go down there and you see some of the best musicians in the world, and then the same goes for Memphis. You go to Memphis, and there's many different venues down there that host blues music, and you think you may know how to jam, but then there's guys there that'll show you something different. So, no, it's just going to be an experience. So,
Yeah, it should be a good time. Do you know exactly how many bands that are bringing in? Because you said like pretty much every state that has a little blues society, a little blues group of some sort could send something in, or multiple if they have multiple. So is there like 50 different bands, or is there?
So I know that well, that's actually pretty close. So they have there's like I think they get somewhere between 230 and 250 acts. Now that's solo, duo, and bands. So okay. I'm not sure what the split is there. There might be, whether it's half bands, half solo, duo acts, or there might be some societies that only send a solo, duo act per se. But so there might be anywhere between 80, 120 bands there or so. But the way it kind of works is it's and I've been trying to dive into that, is they split you up into different venues, and you get to play the first 2 nights of the competition. You play both nights, each night in front of different judges. And then they take the average scores from those different sets of judges, and that determines who gets to go to the semifinal round. So, but you basically, for the first couple rounds, you compete with just your center. So, we may be competing with, I don't know, 10, 15, something like that bands. Don't hold me to that number, but, and then they take the top 4 from each center, I believe, to the semifinals, and then the top 2 out of that center to the finals. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
It's kind of odd, because I was like, while you were describing it, I was like, man, you're gonna get judged by a couple different panels of judges, and then I was thinking, like, how odd is it that, like, I mean, getting judged on music, is it like, it's not, yeah, it's a little almost like all judging on everything is like subjective to an extent,
well, and I mean, once again, man, so that's where it comes to, I went into the Iowa Blues Challenge with the idea of just okay, if you compete in this, then at least your name gets out there. So now, you get to go, luckily we get to go do it down in Memphis, but so you have the networking portion of it, and you try to make connections while you're there, all in the favor of hope. Okay, so hopefully we get to make it to the next round. Hopefully we get to play, but if we don't, at least we get to go do, this fun thing. And I think that's the beauty of, and to the competition factor, I think that's actually a pretty good way of doing it. Cause if you just base it off of, well, for instance, the Iowa Blues Challenge, if that would have been held tomorrow, we probably wouldn't win. There was something about what we did that day that the judges liked, and that was awesome. We're very fortunate. But then, if you would have done it the next day, who knows? So
that's true. I mean, that's a good point.
Hey, no, stop snoring.
At least it's someone else's animals and not mine this time.
Well, we got kids and dogs and everything. So,
oh my gosh, all I have is a cat, and that's plenty for me. It's plenty for me.
But
so
yeah, sorry, I don't know. I probably don't have really good organized thoughts around all that, but hopefully I wasn't blabbing on too much on that.
No, No, that's what this is here for. It's and I'm kind of just asking open-ended questions. Before this, we went in with a bare bones skeleton of what we kind of wanted to talk about, and we're doing a pretty good job. So,
Yep.
it's really cool. I wish I could go to Memphis and kind of check it out with you and see, like what's going on. I mean, I probably could just take some time off and just scoot down.
You
there
should,
just to watch
man.
it. It would be tons of fun just to go see it.
We're renting a 15-passenger van and packing it in, so.
I keep telling people, like, I secretly want to go to Memphis more than I want to go to Nashville for, like, literally no reason. I just want to go. And I don't, everyone's just all about Nashville, and I don't know. I think it's super cool you're going to Memphis. You guys got shows coming up leading up to the Memphis show. I do know your Facebook page had a few down at least. I pulled a couple off before this. You kind of mentioned a couple. The big one coming up is December 3rd. That's coming up not too long from now.
Yeah, right around the corner, actually.
Yeah, River Hops.
Yep.
It's kind of like your home base kind of place in Fort Dodge, isn't it?
It is. In fact, that's what I'm drinking right now. Little River Hops, the Oxbow Orange.
Nice
Light drinking beer. So highly recommend it. Do a sales pitch for Ron here, but
there it is.
No, Ron Grebner there at River Hops. He's a dear friend, and we kind of bonded over his beer because I love craft beer and he makes really good beer. So, but ever since, he's just been really good to us and any band that I've been in, and it's kind of funny. The first show that I actually played as a blues band was exactly, so my birthday, I think we played last year on a Saturday night, and I think my birthday was the Friday. Well, this year we're playing on my birthday, December 3rd, which is a Friday night. So I got that messed up there. But anyway, it's the same my birthday week. So we're playing at River Hops, and what we're actually doing there, not only are we playing a show, but so with this Memphis trip, there's a lot of costs incurred, and I don't really like asking anybody for money. But what we will be doing is by then we will have Ron is being really nice, and he actually has it on tap right now. He has a beer called the Bluesy Haze IPA. We will be canning that up, and we'll be selling some 4-packs. We'll have T-shirts available, which if anybody ever follows me on Facebook, we'll be once we get that design out, we'll be posting that so people can see it in advance. But we'll have T-shirts available, and then also that next week after the show, the band will be going down to the Sonic Factory in Des Moines, and
nice.
We're going to record. We probably got somewhere in the realm of, I think, 8 to 10 tunes that we're going to try to record that week. And so once that gets done, we will also have for sale there at River Hops pre-downloads for digital downloads and stuff for that album. So, cool. And a lot of that's just all in the effort to try to raise a few funds to, pay for some gas money, get back and forth. So,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and whenever this this probably come out in the next week or two, but I'll be advertising more about that on my Facebook page here as time goes on.
Nice. So. All right. Yeah. So make sure you get on the Facebook pages and the social medias. I'm going to have some links down below for those for sure. This is not the first time you've had a beer kind of, I don't want to say like made for you, but you've been in bands that have had beers made for you before, which is like, I always thought was the coolest thing ever.
Oh man. Like I could die a happy man. Like the first time when we were in J. Clyde and Ron canned the J. Clyde beer for us, that was the coolest thing ever. Like we went and actually helped him like put the labels on. We canned, I think we canned like somewhere around 200 and some beers, and for our show that we played there, and like that was the neatest thing. People showed up, and people are walking through the crowd with a beer with your name on it. Like, What more do you want?
That's like, I don't even drink anymore. And I was just like, I want to have one of these just to have one because it's so freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And yeah, another beer kind of made in your honor, you know. And the cool thing is, like you said, you're not asking for money. These are going to be shows. You're going to put on a show. People can come to the show. They can enjoy the show. They can have whatever beer they want. They don't have to have your beer. There's going to be T-shirts, like you said, for sale. You're going to have pre-sale codes for an album that's going to be coming out. So you're doing things in hopes. You're still investing money while in hopes like making something on the back end. So this isn't like you're just starting a GoFundMe and saying everyone give me $5 for gas.
Yep.
You know. So that's something I do commend you for, man. I mean, it would be just as easy to set up a GoFundMe and people would pitch money into it just to help you out. But like this is just such a grassroots giving right back to the community that gave to you kind of deal. It's
well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just am too nervous to ever just ask anybody for a buck, you know. And so I always just want to give people something for their money. But you know, I really going to try to hammer that hard because, you know, five nights in Memphis and gas and food and all that stuff, it starts to get pricey. But so that's our goal, you know, and then also the other goal with doing that show, and then we've got, you know, not till the next month. We're going to take a little bit of time off because we can talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but probably take a little bit more time off in December because we're also trying to at the same time record a Wicked Things album.
Oh, cool.
But then we won't play again till the weekend before we go to Memphis. We got a show booked right now on Friday the 20th of January. We'll be down at the Gas Lamp in Des Moines.
Love that.
And
place.
then Saturday, I'm pretty pumped. Going to be playing at Byron's.
Legendary Byron's in Pomeroy.
I messaged him. I'm just like, hey Byron, like, you know, I'd really love the opportunity. We're trying to book a couple shows before we go to Memphis, and we just tried to dial it in, you know. And he messaged me back right away and said, you know, we'd be pleased to have you. I'm just like, that's just awesome, like, you know, getting to play at Byron's, like so many cool acts is played there, and the amount of awesome music that comes through there weekly is just unreal. So
yeah, I mean, you probably can't see it from where you can't see it from where you're sitting, but I mean, for you it's like right here, but for the camera that I'm recording with, it's like over here, and it's probably cut out anyways. But there's a poster back there of when Clint Riedel played at Byron's, and I got to play along with him at that show, and I got a poster for it. I was just like, this is too cool. I'm getting a poster for it. Like, I don't know. Byron's is awesome. Like you said, crazy touring bands play there from all over the place. You just
can we just acknowledge, like, at what a phenomenon that is? Like, and to be honest, I don't know Byron very well. I've only met him a couple of times. The couple of times that I've been there, just kind of in passing. But the fact that this, like, I don't want to sound mean, but it's just like this hole in the wall, like, rundown place in Pomeroy. Like,
it's one of those places when you open the door, you're like, holy cow. Like, as soon as you open the door, you're like, whoa.
Yeah. And then like the last show I went and seen was Gabe Stillman from, I believe he's in Pennsylvania area, somewhere in that range. Anyway, he was coming through he'd played the night before in Omaha. And so, like, Claire and I took one of our first date nights in a long time, went up and watched him. You know, before he starts playing, I'm counting the amount of people in this bar. You know, there's this small place and it's just packed in there. Like, and there's people that's from not anywhere near around Pomeroy coming to Pomeroy, Iowa. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it just, what an admirable thing to, like, build such a community and following around that place. So
yeah, and it's not directly between any two big things. You kind of have to go off the beaten path just a little bit to get to it. And also to speak to, like, I've mentioned this in the podcast before. One of my first times ever at Byron's, I was at a show. I went outside during an intermission or something, and a guy pulled up on a motorcycle with Alaska plates on it, and I was just like, yeah, that sounds like Byron's, like somebody on a motorcycle with Alaska plates. And I'm sure somebody knows who it is, but it was just like, that just seems like the craziest thing in the world to me. He probably drove here from Alaska and just got here, you know?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past it, but that's super
Nuts.
wild. I love the fact, like you said, I'm going to reiterate the shows. December 3rd, River Hops, Fort Dodge, Iowa. That's the north central Iowa area for all the lovers of blues. Come on up there and check it out. That's going to be the fundraiser show for Ronley King going to Memphis. Otherwise, Des Moines, the Gas Lamp, January 20th. Love that place. We talked about Bob Pace earlier there. He's there a lot. It's a good venue. It's right there by the Sculpture Garden down there in Des Moines, the Sculpture Park. Love it. Played a lot of shows there with Betty. Played some shows there with the metal band I was in. I love that place.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Great venue.
Yeah, if you've never been and you're looking for a night out, that'd be a perfect opportunity. Otherwise,
For sure.
Man, legendary Byron's. It's like you said, it's gotta feel special.
Oh yeah. No, and it's just, and I thank it once again to the Central Iowa Blues Society. It's like they put on that event, and we were lucky enough to be a part of it, and it's just making opportunities like that happen. After we get back from Memphis, we got a few more things in the works. We may be making an appearance at the Winter Blues Fest possibly, and they haven't even started releasing anything for that, but and there's some other shows in Des Moines. So yeah, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing kind of where this goes and where we can take it. So
yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Yep.
I feel like we've covered quite a bit about it, your blues band, but
yep.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention more about Cory Waller and the Wicked Things too.
For sure.
Played a lot of shows with them this summer. We're 50 minutes in. We're putting this one. We're pulling this one out from on the end of the podcast, but it's important stuff, man. You guys have been playing so many shows. It's mind blowing. It was almost just like every month. It's just like, you're playing how many shows this month? And the next month it was like, you're playing how many county fairs? And it's just like, jeez. I can imagine playing to a grandstands of people. Like, jeez.
Well, I remember on the last podcast I was on, I think I was talking to you, and I was worried about our summer coming up, because I was like, we had a really good first year when we, Cory and I kind of got this thing going, and we ended up being really fortunate that we ended up with the shows that we did. And I said, like, well, now next year is probably just gonna, who knows, we probably won't get anything. And then this summer just blew our expectations away. Like, we got to open up for quite a few different acts, several different county fairs, and it's just, and a lot of just great shows, like just street dances, stuff like that. And we had a ton of fun. We've recently been working with the Atomic music group. So they've been kind of bringing some opportunities to table, like, here we played at Woolies here a while back, opening for the Steel Woods, which was mind blowing.
Nice. Playing at Woolies would be awesome too.
Yeah,
it's basically
it was
basically
sweet.
The next step up from there is like Wells Fargo if you're in Des Moines. I'm serious. I'm not saying that's where you're going next, but I'm just saying,
No.
like, as far as venues go, where's the next biggest venue?
Yeah. So no, we're just really fortunate for the summer that we've had, like, just being in the right place at right time, some good opportunities. And now we feel like, okay, the people who have gotten behind us and are kind of buying into this thing that we're doing, we kind of owe them something. Finally, we started recording an album last spring, and we started last spring, and then I'll just say, between playing shows on the weekends, families, my business, Cory's business, everybody else's life, it's impossible. It's literally impossible to do stuff when you're playing Friday, Saturday night, multiple times a month, and just trying to juggle everything else. It's impossible to do anything else. So we just had to put that on the back burner, and now I've got my blues thing that we got to prepare for. So it's like, hey, Cory, like, let's get that album done. Let's just do it all at once. So it never gets any less busy, I should say. But now we're trying to put some time and effort now that things, because we've slowed down playing wise. We've got a few shows like this weekend. It'll be the 20. It's the 24th, this Saturday. We're playing at the Lizard Creek Ranch in Fort Dodge, and then we got a couple shows in November, I think. But so our schedule is really slowed down significantly in the winter, so we got a lot more free time to work with.
Yeah.
But so hopefully we get something recorded here between November, December, maybe January. It'll probably, to be realistic, we'll probably end up putting the finishing touches on it in February sometime, with the hopes of getting we've got enough material for a full length album right now, and really working on that, trying to get that polished up. So
sweet, that's awesome.
Yep.
I'd be stoked to hear that.
Yeah.
It's always one of those things, like you said, it's hard to balance it. If you're playing the shows and making the money and the people are loving it, it's tough to be like, all right, now we have to quit playing the shows and quit making the money and quit letting the people love it, so we can actually go make a thing that they can take home and listen to whenever they want to, instead of just having to come to the shows, which is, it's that double-edged sword. It's so bittersweet, and then you got to find the time to do it, and sometimes it's winter time, but then you got another band, and everybody's got families, and everyone's got jobs, and it's...
Well, and shout out to Jesse, because I texted him a while back. He's killing it on the original front. And I just love his marketing. He's killing it. Like, he releases a song, puts out a video. He hypes it up, and it's like, what we want to do is something similar. It's like, we want to be, we have originals, we've been playing originals, but we also want to be known as an original band. We play a 3-hour show. We do lots of Texas country covers, but red dirt country stuff. But we want to be known for our music as well. And some of the stuff that Cory, what's really awesome is getting to see Cory and Etheridge, because Etheridge Nets, if for those of you who don't know him, he put out an album here. I think it was the year we started the band. So please go check that out if you get a chance. He's an amazing songwriter. Cory's an amazing songwriter. And so now what we're getting to see is not just Cory writing songs, and we're working at those. We're getting to play the whole band together and see what ideas come from it. And some of the stuff coming out right now, I'm super pumped about. I can't wait to get it out to people.
That's exciting. That's exciting stuff to hear. Especially it's nice to know that you guys haven't just been well, this is as big as we're going to get, and this is it, and we're just going to play the shows now and make the money, and then that's the end of it. It's nice to know you're writing your own material and going to, have hopes of recording it, like you said, and promoting it and having people listen to it. It's one thing to make an album, but it's another thing to make an album with the hopes of actually putting it into people's hands to listen to,
oh yeah.
Not that people don't do that, but that'd be what I would do if I wrote an album. I'd just be like, all right, I made it, and I put it on Spotify, and I didn't tell a single person.
Yeah. Well, and the funny part is you spend the money to make the album, whether that's recording or printing discs and stuff. You don't make money on the album. It's just it's the idea of this is our product. This is who we are. Just because you guys can cover Turnpike Troubadours doesn't mean you're Turnpike Troubadours. You're this is your statement. So
yeah, excuse me. I absolutely love, like I said, it's all started long ago. It was the Jay Clyde era, and from that has spawned so many fun acts of so many different bands. I just love everything that's come out of it. Cory Waller and the Wicked Things has been amazing. It's been fun to watch you guys grow over the last year and a half, 2 years. Just all the shows, all the stuff, and like I said, original songs coming out now. I'm super stoked. I love what came out. What Cory had written before, and I'm sure it's going to be no different nowadays. Like you said, new ingredients, new people in there, helping them with songwriting, adding their 2 cents, getting a little bit of Etheridge's influences in there as well. It's going to be really exciting. He's another guy that's kind of secretly a secret weapon. You know, I don't. It's like people don't know. It's like, oh, he can run sound, and he can sing. He can play guitar and bass.
Oh yeah,
he can write songs. And he builds pedal boards. And it's like
exactly.
I love it when people try to tell me like you're good at doing like everything, and I'm just like, well, he's secretly better than me at everything, and nobody talks about it. He's so good at everything. It's like, oh, you need something fixed? He can do it.
There you go. No, that's what I love. I think the Wicked things is like we're all like we're kind of a band of secret weapons because like, you know, Cory's an excellent singer and band leader, and then you got Emily with, you know, amazing female vocals on the side. It's just it's killer. You know, you got Etheridge, like he's just you know, like you say, just does it all, and Caleb's an excellent drummer. That's how I kind of look at it, and I just view like when I sit back and reflect, like, oh man, like I get to play with these guys. They're just like they're so much fun, you know. Just so happy the way it's all kind of worked out. And like you say, it spawned like the J. Clyde years. It spawned a lot of awesome things, like, you know, Neil Anders, who, you know, and Greg and Jake, still good friends of mine. Like those guys are killing it right now.
Yeah.
Like
Neil's new
have
music.
you listened to Neil's new album yet?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on a whole different. It's like on a whole different plane. I mean.
Yeah.
know.
The podcast I did with him recently was tons of fun. Dude, yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun having you guys in our community, and like you said, you're appreciative for the people that are out there blazing the trails for you, and then there's people like me that are appreciative that there's people like you guys all out there blazing the trails for us. So,
oh man,
so I mean, it's kudos, you know. Like you said, I think the whole and at the grand scheme of things, and when it's all said and done, it's about having a good time and having fun and enjoying your time with other people. I mean,
that's the key. If we didn't do that. Like, if we weren't having fun, like, man, there's a lot of stress and a lot of heartache that goes along with it. You know, it's like, it's gotta be fun.
Oh my gosh! Thankfully it is. Yep. Anything else you want to add to this conversation? I just want to say one more time, the Iowa Blues Challenge winners, the Ronley King Blues Band from the Iowa Blues Society 2022, going to Memphis in January. That's on the 24th. Got some shows leading up to that. Everything's on the Facebook, on the social media.
Yep.
Links down below. Got some Cory Waller links down below that. Well,
yeah.
Got anything else, buddy?
I think that's it. I mean, yeah, give us a like on Facebook. I'm usually on there doing. Sometimes it depends on how busy I am, but I'm usually on there posting some sort of guitar diddles or whatever here and there. Mm-hmm. Try to keep everybody up to date to what we're doing. So, but yeah, thank you for having me on again, Peter. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Have fun in Memphis.
We will. You ought to come, man.
All right.
You ought to come.
Yeah, man. I'll schedule the time off right now.
There you go.
All right, don't go, but thank you for joining me.
Yep.
Ronley King, one of my favorites. He did it. He won the Iowa Blues Challenge, and he's heading to Memphis. I kind of left you hanging in the intro, but I don't know. Some of you people already knew that. You already knew he won. It's wild. It's super wild. Somebody in our little circle up in north central Iowa won the Iowa Blues Challenge, and off he goes to Memphis to compete in that. Such a fun opportunity for him, you know, not only to get to compete in the Iowa Blues Challenge, but, you know, to win the thing and then go down to Memphis. So that's really fun. Anybody looking to help support him on his travels to Memphis, once again, that December 3rd show at River Hops in Fort Dodge. It's going to be a great opportunity to support Ronley, as well as take in some music, grab some drinks, and get some cool swag at the door, too. They'll have some goodies there for you, for sure. Otherwise, down in the Des Moines area, Gaslamp, January 20th, and then back up into the north central Iowa in Pomeroy. Good old Byron's in Pomeroy. Oh, that's a good place. We talked about that a little bit in the episode, too. If you've never been there, this is the chance. January 21st, Byron's in Pomeroy. There's no better place to be. Come check it out. It's going to be a great time. Once again, hats off to Ronley, taking time out of his day to sit down and talk with me on the podcast. Busy guy, and not like the rest of us aren't, but hats off to him. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ronley. He's going out there. He's putting the work in, putting a lot of the work in, and it's showing. It's showing out there in everything he's doing. So congrats on the hard work paying off, Ronley. We're all very proud of you, and off to Memphis. Check out all the links down below to make sure you follow along with Ronley. Ronley King Blues Band is down there. There's Cory Waller and the Wicked Things links down below as well to make sure you follow along with that. And if you guys are looking for other links, there's Audible Farm links down below. Audible Farm links will take you to the Audible Farm website, which has links to pretty much everything. Otherwise, we got the shop. The shop has the hoodies. It's hoodie weather. In case you didn't know, it's back in style. It's ready to go. Snag a hoodie if you're looking for one. Otherwise, if you're looking for some other goodies, we got T-shirts, we got stickers over there on the on the shop. Otherwise, there is a link down below to the Patreon as well. The Patreon's $1 a month. You can watch video versions of the podcast. That's $12 a year. That's all it costs. Video versions of the podcast. You can support the podcast for $1 a month. And I'll say thank you very much. I'll appreciate it. As of right now, I'm mentioning all of the patrons at the beginning of the episodes. If it gets too unwieldy, I'll have to find a new way to do it. But for now, that's how we're doing it. So if you want to get mentioned on a podcast, $1 on the Patreon channel, I'll mention you on the podcast. So thank you guys for being patrons of that. Thank you to anyone that's bought anything in the shop. Otherwise, if you want to support non-monetarily, the best way to do so is to tell a friend. If you like this episode, share it with somebody. Say, hey, Ronley was on a podcast. It was awesome. Ronley's awesome. You would like this. And then you can say, hey, Ronley was on here before. Let's go check out his older episodes. And you can say, Ronley's old bandmates have been on here before too. And some of his current bandmates have been on the podcast, and you're going to go back and listen to some of those. And that's just kind of how it works. It's word of mouth. It's just kind of a fun thing. If you guys enjoy it, thank you guys very much for liking, subscribing, sharing, doing everything you do, and just listening each and every single week, or listening to the ones you love. And that's okay too. I thank you guys very much for your support and enjoying the podcast. I think I'm going to check out of here for the week, though. So check out all of Ronley's links, check out the Audible Farm links, and I will check you next week. Peace.